I'm psyched that Usher is going to be doing the Super Bowl. All of these artists who have performed in the past, they've seen like 200%, 300% spikes in their streaming, in their revenue. Like I think Rihanna was selling t-shirts.
I should have sold Rihanna t-shirts out of my trunk.
Yeah, you would have been promptly arrested. The same way they got Bruh Man with the Whitty Hutton t-shirts, that would have been you.
Whitty Hutton, Gina. Bruh Man can't spell.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Docs Outside the Box. I'm your host, Dr. Nee. I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
Zaxi Renee.
So listen, before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this, I got something that I want to share with you. We talked about this really quick before.
I don't like surprises.
You don't like surprises?
I do like surprises, actually, but sometimes you be like saying something is so great and then it's like not.
Well, I'm not saying something is great, but it's something that's very interesting. We've talked about this before, and they just made the announcement about 2 weeks ago. So right now it's October 4th. They made this announcement about 2 weeks ago. You ready?
Okay.
I'm going to let the audience listen a little bit too.
Yo, after the night, don't leave your girl around me. True player for real. That's my nigga for real.
Hey.
Okay.
Yo, Usher about to be in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl halftime party.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like,
What?
okay, I think you're over your 5 seconds. But,
Situations
no.
will arise in our lives, but you got... I don't even know the words.
You really don't.
Celebration.
Okay.
Hey, with the guys.
Okay,
All right,
that's
listen, before
enough.
we get sued and demonetized by YouTube, but that's okay, though. We don't have enough subscribers anyway. You can't get us, YouTube.
There's only one
You're not going to get us.
There's only one person born on the date that Usher was born
Yeah, who that?
that should be singing. And that is Usher, not you.
And tell them why that's so important. What day was Usher born? And what year was he born?
October 14th, 1978.
Yo, them 78 boys.
So you have the same birthday as Usher. Yes.
Yo, we listen. I'm gonna tell you something right now. So it's not that I'm psyched that Usher is going to be doing the Super Bowl halftime show because that's all I watch. Right? I ain't watching the NFL. I don't watch the game or anything like that. I'm over that. I got off that narcotic. I'm all about the halftime.
But, okay.
But the thing that's very interesting is, once again, as I discussed last year when Rihanna, or actually this year when Rihanna did the halftime show, we always talk about, yo, do you know that these artists don't get paid by the NFL to do this, right? So once again, Usher will not be getting paid for this. The only thing that the NFL pays for is the production costs. So like creating the stage, making sure the backup dancers, music, all of that stuff. And actually last year we found out that actually the NFL didn't even pay for any of that. Apple Music flipped the bill for that.
Okay.
So it's just like the NFL is just making off nice in this. But I think one of the things that I want the audience to understand and that we understand is that there's always some type of mutual benefit.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the power of negotiation, right?
Obviously, hip hop, R&B, that is driving cultural things that are going on right now, right? With music, the way how people dress, talk, and all that stuff, right? So now you get most eyes watching for this, but also at the same time, the biggest thing for Usher is all of these artists who have performed in the past, they've seen like 200%, 300% spikes in their streaming, in their revenue. Like I think Rihanna was selling t-shirts at the same time that her performance was going on. So she's just like, everybody's receiving something. And then I think also at the same time, I
should have been selling Rihanna t-shirts.
I think Rihanna was doing a documentary actually. I should have sold Rihanna
t-shirts out of my trunk.
Yeah, you would have been promptly arrested because they're not doing any fakes in this. Rihanna and her crew? Nah, she's not doing any of that stuff. They would have caught you.
They would have caught me?
Yeah, they would have got you just the same
I'd
way
have
they
been
got
like,
Brother Man.
I'm her OBGYN.
The
She's
same
pregnant.
way they got Bruh Man with the Whitty Hutton t-shirts, that would have been you.
Whitty Hutton, Gina. Bruh Man can't spell.
Woody Hutton.
Yeah, Whitty Hutton.
Whitty Hutton.
They would have got you. But
You
back
said
to
it
this
was Whitney
back to
Houston.
this subject. I'm telling you, like, this is crazy because I think we all have to be, sometimes monetary or money is not always an equal exchange
Right.
for a relationship with someone, right?
Yeah.
So if you're working at a hospital or if you're getting a new job, like we were just discussing with Stephen Bradley,
yeah.
where for him, the biggest thing that he wanted to negotiate was not the salary, but was actually time, right? Like how much time away from academics or how much protected time he would have to do research, to do other projects.
Yep.
As well as doing some clinical time also. That's important to him. So in music, you know, for Usher, if you're not going to get paid, then you got to be able to let me sell in another way. Make a documentary,
Right.
sell my tickets for my residency in Las Vegas, or increase the amount of streams and attention that's to me. So something that's interesting. Plus, I love Usher. Usher's a good guy, man.
Yeah.
1978. I know you're going to be watching.
14th. I will watch. I'm not as excited that, Usher's doing a Super Bowl. I don't get excited about that. I do like Usher.
But here's the thing. In light of what's been going on, fellas, I need y'all to give me an answer. I want you to write in, text us. Alfred, put it on the bottom of the screen. So, for my birthday, Renee had thought for a second that I was going to fall for this. Right?
What?
She said, hey, for your birthday, why don't we go to Las Vegas and go see Usher for his residency for your birthday?
You wanted to see Usher first.
Initially, I almost fell for it. And I was like, oh, yeah.
What?
This is for me. But I know my wife. I know how she likes to manipulate. And I know,
asked if I wanted to go see Usher.
I don't remember that.
Oh my God, Nee.
I don't remember that.
You asked me. You were like, "Do you want to go see Usher?"
You gonna try to Kiki Palmer me?
Listen,
You gonna try to Kiki Palmer me? She tried to Kiki Palmer me, yo. That's exactly what you tried to do.
I ain't try to Kiki
and
Palmer
I didn't fall
nobody.
for it.
You asked me if I wanted to go see Usher in Vegas, and I was like, not really.
I don't remember.
And then I realized, you might actually want to go see Usher. I'm not a concert person. I've been to see one concert. One. And that was Lenny Kravitz. Long time ago. I was, 25?
You saying Lenny Kravitz is the same as Usher?
Aren't you also influenced by Dr. Seuss?
Who? Never heard of him.
Very weird, because your lyrics, they sound just like him.
No.
Okay.
They're very different artists.
Right.
But either way, I've only ever been
Who's
to
better?
one concert in my life.
Who's better at that?
I don't know. I've only ever seen Lenny Kravitz in concert. So I can't compare.
Anyway, so we're not going because I didn't fall for it.
We didn't fall. You
can
asked for it.
You can watch him at the Super Bowl halftime party.
You asked for it.
I didn't ask.
I don't even like Usher
Don't
like that.
remember that. Let's get on with the show, yo. What's good, everybody?
You just saying
Listen,
stuff for the podcast.
super excited, and this episode is going to be the first part is going to be Q&A, and then the next part we're going to talk about a very important, serious topic of suicide, specifically a leader of a surgical society talking about her issue of substance abuse and so forth. But as always, the support of this show is really based off of what you guys are doing, what you guys are when you guys are watching, when you guys are listening. Once again, shout out to everybody who's watching on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe.
Yes,
we really
please.
appreciate that. Make sure you check us out at youtube.com/Docs Outside the Box podcast. Listen, if you're not watching the show on YouTube, you're really missing out a lot. The audio experience is great. It's exquisite. But there's just a little bit of like this that Alfred, our video editor, is doing
Alfred be
on
putting
an
that
episode.
salt on there.
You know what I'm saying? He's doing just a little bit of this. And y'all are missing
seasonings.
out. I'm telling you, check it out. But for everybody who's listening on the podcast, on the audio experience.
And
also
don't forget, the YouTube experience is right in the show notes. Right in the show notes where you listening to right now.
All you got to do is check it out. Listen. So this question was sent to us by one of our listeners several months ago. We went to Ghana. We didn't get a chance to really answer it. And it's something that I know something about, but I don't know something about, which is basically being creative, but it's specifically about writing. So why don't we do this? Before we jump into this, we got to pay the bills. Let's take a quick break and we will come right back. Hold up. Before we continue, to all my day ones, and each and every one of you who you are, thank you for rolling with the show from jump. And to the new listeners, welcome. What's good? Where y'all been? I want y'all to stay a while. All right. So look, I'm trying to build a community here and I need your help. So with whatever app you're listening to this show right now, I want you to click the subscribe button. Then I want you to go over to Apple Podcasts and I want you to rate and review the show. And you may be asking, how does this help? The way how it helps is by helping the show to grow and rise up in the rankings so that it's easier for new people to discover the show. Now, what's in it for you is at least once a week, I'm going to be going through these reviews. I'm going to pick a lucky reviewer and I'm going to give that person an opportunity to have a 15-minute session with me where we could talk about anything from personal finance, getting your money right, to just shooting the you know what about the show. So listen, remember, all I need you to do is subscribe and then rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Let's get on with the episode. Peace. All right, we are back. I'm done with talking. We got a question from a fourth-year general surgery resident, and let's get into it.
Some initials or a pseudonym.
This is Dr. J. Dr. J.O., okay?
Dr. J.O.
Dr. J.O. He says, hello, I am currently a fourth-year general surgery resident in Phoenix, Arizona. I have recently discovered the importance of financial freedom as well as using... Actually, let me use my voice, my reading voice, my letter voice. I have recently discovered the importance of financial freedom as well as using my talents beyond medicine. Your podcast is both refreshing and inspiring. Once again, I'm not sure why you have Renee as your co-host, but I understand.
Nobody says that. Nobody ever writes that, Nee. Nobody.
I have always been a writer. I mostly journal about what I know, my experience as a Black surgical resident navigating healthcare and taking care of patients, the social and emotional toll it takes on providers, as well as commentary on the forces that affect an individual's health. I have begun sharing my writing with others and have received positive feedback. I want to potentially take the next step and share my writing with others and see where it can take me. What advice do you all have for starting the process? What are some pitfalls and what should I think of as I grow into the space? Thank you for your time and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for all you do. Once again, why do you have Renee as a co-host?
No, cut it out.
Signed, your pal, J.O.
And I'm sitting with J.A. Hee-haw. Hee-haw.
You see, because I roll with it. I know I'm secure in myself, so I can go with it. It's all good. So Dr. J.O. basically is a writer. He not only is a fourth-year general surgery resident. For y'all who are not in general surgery, this is the year when you really start to operate on your own. Not only do you make the decisions as to when someone operates, but you actually are operating. And depending on which surgery residency you're in, at this point, you probably can do skin to skin with just the attending being in the room. Hopefully. But if you're at that type of residency program where like the attending is just doing buzz here, buzz there, buzz here, you guys know what I'm talking about. Some of them are like that, but
You in trouble, Molly.
At Morehouse, it wasn't like
name?
that.
What was the name from Ghost?
Molly, you in danger, girl.
You in trouble. What was
That was her name, right? Molly, right?
Was it Molly?
I think so.
You in trouble, Molly.
Yeah, man. But hopefully you're not at that residency program. Hopefully by now, fourth year, you're doing gallbladders by yourself with the attending in the room, obviously. Appies by yourself with the attending in the room and stuff. And a little bit more crazier cases. But
with the attending in the room.
He is interested in basically getting his writing out. And I have some notes, but how you want to do this? Do you have any advice?
No, go ahead.
So I kind of split my notes into ideas for sharing your work and then also into the pitfalls.
Okay.
So for sharing your work, which is something that you specifically asked about, how do you get your work out and making sure that other people can see it? I got 3 things that I think you should be focusing on. One is you need to create your own personal blog. If you don't have your own personal blog already, you need to create one, right? So you purchase a URL, you name it after yourself, and you use like Squarespace or whatever it may be and create a very quick, simple website. And this is where people can find all of your writings. You can, put your full versions of your writings there and just let people come and read it. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I think this is a great way to showcase your talents. It's a great way to showcase your writing style, as well as you're kind of starting the process of building an online presence. Mm-hmm. And it's cheap, right? And then the other thing, too, is you can turn off comments. So if people want to troll you, they won't have an opportunity to do that. So I think that is a really great place to start. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I think websites in general, I don't know if people are really going to websites like they used to like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's still a good start.
I think so. I think, the question is exactly what is your niche, right? Because that's the one thing that you're going to probably play around with over the next, few years, if you haven't played around with it already, is deciding what your actual topic is going to be, like, right? The broader topic, right? So if you want people to come to you for a certain thing, very specifically a certain thing, you can make your blog about that. So, is it about money? Is it about relationships? Is it about career? Is it about, art? Like, pick something.
He said his thing is, what do you call it? The social and emotional toll it takes on providers.
Okay.
Right?
So
navigating healthcare and taking care of patients, as well as the commentary on the forces that affect an individual's health.
Okay. So then that's what it's about, right? So being sure that you're in that space, having a website is great, but the other thing that you might want to do is look at freelancing for other sites, for other platforms. I used to actually freelance for the Griot.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Also used to do, we both used to do policy prescriptions with Dr. Cedric Dark back in the day. So, really looking at potentially what are some other platforms besides your own that people might be going to that can then pull them to your particular site, but that can also give you some cachet. Right?
I agree with that.
Building up a portfolio.
I think another option is social media. Now, I'm talking about specifically like Twitter, IG, Facebook. Now, Facebook will allow you, obviously, for long form, right? For you to put like your entire writing. If it's several pages long, you can put all of that in Facebook. But Twitter, IG, you're just going to do shortened versions of it. And that actually may be to your advantage, right? Because if people get a shortened version of your writing, then you can have like a link that takes them back to your personal blog where they can read the full version of your reading.
Clickbait.
So, yeah, you want to get people, you want to meet people where they're at, right? There's some people who want to go to the website, and there's some people who you can meet on social media. Now, the one thing also that I was thinking about, I was like, what if he did this is, so social media, I'm talking about obviously Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, but what if he did podcasts also? Yeah. And what I mean by that is like talking to podcast hosts, telling them the topics that you feel really strongly about, and then coming on and being a guest, or being like a reviewer and speaking about, the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, being a commentator.
Being a commentator and letting them know that, hey, like not only do I feel proficient talking about it, speaking about it, but I write like full length commentary, and here's my website where you can take a look at, especially nowadays, right? Like everybody's talking about health equity, everybody's talking about what it's like to be, just from whatever walk of life that you're at, that's, hot on the presses right now.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really great place to find some new people who may not want to read, but just kind of maybe want to hear what you got to say.
What you have to say.
So I think podcast is also a really good source also.
Yeah, because it's not just about what you write, right? It's also about giving yourself the credibility and setting yourself up to be kind of the go-to person on this topic, right? And
that takes a long time.
Yeah, that does take a long time.
That takes a long time.
It does take a long time, but consistency is going to be key, right? So, as you're setting yourself up as the guru eventually, then, keep building your platform, but also keep doing the things that are going to drive people to your platform. Like Dr. Nee said, you want to go on podcasts, you want to do social media, short form social media. You could go on, for example, you can go on Instagram and just do a carousel, right, of like 10 things, right? And so you might take one paragraph of something that you've written in a blog that you think is very profound and turn that into a carousel, 1 sentence, 2 sentences each. And so get people commenting, and then obviously
I would record myself
back to your blog.
I would record myself speaking some of it too.
Yeah,
because people,
absolutely.
Some people don't want to read. I'm telling you.
So, but you do different.
There's some dumb mugs out there who just don't want to read. So they want.
Not everybody who can't read is dumb, Nee.
I'm just teasing. But there's people who just they prefer to hear it as opposed to reading it. So if the visual perspective of you out there talking it that may be very powerful.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I'm thinking about also, I had to look this up, is something called writing communities. So these are websites where they take on all comers with all writing. So number one, and I think this is probably something that you either, hopefully you're already on, but I think most people are thinking about this, is Medium.
Right.
Right. Medium.com basically is a free platform where you can go on there and just write, and it will categorize all of your writings into certain topics and so forth.
Yeah.
A lot of people have made a huge headway into becoming an expert by just putting all of their writings on Medium.com.
yeah.
That's free. Another one is writing.com. This is another community where you could just go on there and literally just put all of your documents on there, put all of your writing in there, and people will come and interact with it. Another one to check out is, this is not a community, but this is more of like a support group, is shewrites.com. And it's specifically not just She Writes, it's a link that they have where it says 16 writing organizations for diverse authors. So that link is going to be in the show notes. Make sure you check that out. There's some good opportunities there. And then the last one is what you stole from me, which is guest blogging.
Okay.
Which is the same thing as, being a...
Like a guest on a podcast.
Yeah, being a guest on a podcast,
so
or
get somebody's platform and
or just, even a guest on another website
blog.
and just going from there. Now,
I'd say also Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit is good too.
Yeah.
Reddit is actually really
Reddit,
good. I put Reddit and Medium at the same level, actually.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that out. Pitfalls. These are the things that I think that you should be worrying about right now, is make sure you keep your intellectual property at all costs.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is be careful with going to websites where you're kind of not clear on the terms. So what I mean by that is, yes, they give you a free platform, but do they own your work?
Right.
There's a lot of places where you'll go, they'll give you a free platform, but they're like, everything you uploaded here is ours. So you got to be really careful of that. Or when you get rid of your account, maybe that work stays up there in perpetuity. So just be really clear with that, and make sure you're very careful with who you're sharing your information with. If the terms ain't clear, then I would just walk away. Yeah. Right. The other thing is establish your personal brand with a website. Right. So I think that falls back on actually having a personal blog. Right. Make sure you want everybody to know exactly where's the place where they can find out where you are, the authentic you. Right. The other thing too also is just making sure you start to get usernames on social media, so that everything kind of matches. So use the same username on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of those different things.
You don't want to be like JO123 and then JOABC and then JO
Thunder.
JO Thunder on all different types of platforms. And the other thing with starting a website also is, making sure you start your own community, right? And, is there a way that you can collect people's email addresses, or have them on a Discord or something to be able to send them directly your writings, or at least notices to when your writing, when your writings are being published. Because let's say Medium decides, we're not going to provide this platform anymore. You might lose all of your followers. Same thing, same thing with Facebook, Twitter. Instagram,
those emails
are golden,
very important. The other thing too is when you use Instagram or you're using screenshots of your writings, use watermarks.
Yes.
So people know, once again, it's authentic. Like just have a little watermark or a little logo that people know that's you.
Smack dab in the middle.
Right. Also, make sure you use AI or use software where it looks all through the internet to make sure that nobody ain't plagiarizing your You know what I'm saying? So one thing I found is something called Copyscape, as well as Grammarly, right? So I use Grammarly just to edit my emails and some other things. It's really powerful, but you can use Grammarly to actually scour the web to see, if someone is plagiarizing your stuff. Copyscape is another one also. I'll put the links in the show notes. And another thing too is educate yourself, man. Educate yourself while you're doing this on the copyright laws.
Yep.
You don't have to know everything all at the same time, but just get off the fence, start putting your stuff out there, but also at the same time, make sure you're educating yourself and understanding a little bit about trademarks, copyrights, submitting your stuff with the Library of Congress, things of that nature. I think those things are a really good start to get yourself to get yourself putting yourself out there with writing.
Yeah.
So, because I still put writing as a lost art, actually, right at this point. A lot of people just don't write anymore. People just podcast like me. I hate writing. So I just podcast and stuff, but
I mean,
in general.
I think people are still reading more than they are, I don't know, like more than they are consuming other things to get information. No?
You think so?
I think so. I don't know.
I don't. I think people are using video, people are using audio, and if it requires reading, people are skipping it.
Interesting.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't stop reading now.
Let us know. Do you think you read more or consume video or audio more?
Yeah, text us. Text us real quick, yo. Let us know. Alfred, if you could put the number on the bottom of the screen, let us know what you think about writing versus listening.
Reading.
Writing and reading?
Well, reading. Yeah, I'm talking about consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you rather read something or listen to something or watch something?
Yeah. All right.
So I have a question to you. What's one hobby, love, something that you gave up on once you got into medical school, or just kind of just realized, yeah,
Probably writing.
you used to write a lot?
No. Well, actually, I probably used to write a lot more than I did. Yeah, I'd probably say writing once I got into med school for sure. Because I used to have my own column in high school.
Oh,
I used to
you
write,
were serious.
Yeah. I wrote quite a bit in college as well. Yeah, probably writing. And then I picked it up again once I started doing policy prescriptions and the Griot. And then it kind of fell by the wayside a little bit again.
Are you looking to pick that back up?
I would like to write more, actually. I mean, I really do enjoy writing.
I mean, especially since you've gotten your new celebrity status by being on this podcast. I think that this is the perfect time for you to jump on. I'm Skip and you're Shannon, and now I'm just looking at you just flourish out there, right?
So you put me on.
I put you on.
Get out of here. You wish. You wish you put somebody on. Come here with my goat head.
The goat
Now, the thing that I gave up on definitely is very easily is what do you call it? Is running. I gave up on running.
Yeah.
So I ran in college, I ran in high school, and then once I got into med school, I was just like, yeah, I ain't got time for this.
That's it. You ain't running no more.
I'd like to get back into just kind of running shape. I don't know if I want to compete, but that's one thing that I would love to get back into, consistently just getting out there and just running 6 miles or, running for a long distance. But I digress. I am better than you. So, yeah. All right, y'all. So we are going to take a break. We will be right back with our next segment. Hold up. Before we continue, to all my day ones, and each and every one of you who you are, thank you for rolling with the show from Jump. And to the new listeners, welcome. What's good? Where y'all been? I want y'all to stay a while. All right. So look, I'm trying to build a community here and I need your help. So with whatever app you're listening to this show right now, I want you to click the subscribe button. Then I want you to go over to Apple Podcasts and I want you to rate and review the show. And you may be asking, how does this help? The way how it helps is by helping the show to grow and rise up in the rankings so that it's easier for new people to discover the show. Now, what's in it for you is at least once a week, I'm going to be going through these reviews. I'm going to pick a lucky reviewer and I'm going to give that person an opportunity to have a 15-minute session with me where we could talk about anything from personal finance, getting your money right, to just shooting the you-know-what about the show. So listen, remember, all I need you to do is subscribe and then rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Let's get on with the episode. Peace. All right, we are back. We are back. Let's get serious. That was a great topic from before, JL. I hope it helped you.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in.
But there's another topic that I think is going to help a lot of people. This is the reason why we did that. Well, I did that topic first, which is kind of talking about your hobbies, what you enjoy to do, because, what we're going to talk about next is Dr. Carrie Cunnigham. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Dr. Carrie Cunnigham is an endocrinology surgeon or endocrinologist surgeon or surgical endocrinologist, excuse me. I think she's at Harvard. And she recently was covered in a Guardian article. We're going to have the notes or the link in the show notes. But the Guardian featured her mainly because of a speech that she gave earlier this year, I think March of 2023. Mm-hmm. And she gave a speech for the Association of Academic Surgery. And basically, she, over the past year, was the president of that organization. And she basically gave a speech kind of just talking about her accolades and starting off with where she graduated from. And, she's an associate professor and all the lives that she's touched and changed. And, one thing that's very interesting, she said that she's not special. And then she immediately just drove into the fact that she has substance abuse issue and has been, in basically a physician rehab program. And she talks about like what it's like to just be, someone who went from being a very competitive tennis player who was on a world circuit. Like she was ranked in the world.
Okay.
And transitioning to medicine, and a lot of the skills, a lot of the habits that she took from tennis, she brought into medicine, and a lot of those habits were not healthy. And let's just say, long story short, she developed depression. And then obviously it led to substance abuse. And then eventually she kind of got outed by her coworkers. And I think everybody in the crowd was completely shocked by this. But she spent the entire 50 minutes just kind of describing her journey through this process, as well as advice for others. And The Guardian documented this, because in her speech, she talked about how, whatever she's going to talk about, she's prefacing this to the audience. This is probably going to affect my ability to get any further promotions.
Okay.
I might not get asked to speak at any other event. I may, it's going to affect me here. It's going to affect me there. But she put some really interesting points forward when she talked. She talked about putting health first. Do not assume anything. Mastery is the result of mistakes, not perfection. Your profession is not your identity, which is one of the things.
We talk about that all the time on this show.
Right. We talk about put health first also.
Mm-hmm.
Authentic connection is everything. Just listen to people as well as feel the pain. And, that article was a two-piece where it highlighted her speech, but also highlighted the issue that we have with doctors committing suicide, which is higher than any other group in the United States, or one of the highest. It's doubled in the general populations, let me feel like that. And then also specifically surgeons, right? The issue of surgeons. And that was something that you saw. I watched the entire speech. I thought it was a very powerful speech. I got some thoughts about it. I really like that she prefaces by saying that, listen, she's mid-career. She's in her 50s. She's white. So there's certain privilege that she has and so forth. But oftentimes, when you have change and when you have someone who has the ability to be vulnerable, but, they may not have a lot to lose or may have a lot to lose, it's really interesting to see someone from that perspective really kind of put their cards on deck and see what they have to, see what's going to happen. I was very interested by that. I know you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, my first thought on this was that I was very shocked that she revealed this in such a public forum, right? And obviously it was very cathartic for her.
Oh, sister is tearing up and everything.
Yeah. So, very cathartic for her. But I think it was also something that needed to be said, right? Not necessarily, we need to know her business, but we need to know that this is out there, right? That this is out there. So I think that was a very appropriate time, even though it probably made people feel very uncomfortable in the audience at first. But I think it was a very appropriate time to just put it out there because, like you said, she's mid-career. She has, she has had all these accolades. She got to be, she's a surgeon, X, Y, and Z. But my other thought about this was that she has the privilege of putting this out there after all of the accolades.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? After all of the accolades, after all of the accomplishments that she's had. And I wonder if she had put this out, right? Because at some point this came to a head, right? So this is not a new problem for her, obviously, because she was playing tennis, so she most likely was younger. So this is not a new problem. And I wonder that if she had not had that privilege at this point and instead had started to tell that story when she was much younger, when she was a resident, when she was an early attending, would she even have gone through the career that she's had so far with the accomplishments and with all of the accolades? And I think the answer is actually no. I think she would have been shunned. I think most likely her career would have taken a huge hit, if not been ruined altogether potentially. And or worse, she may have just kept it to herself and succumb, like many other physicians do every year.
Well, I think right now at this point in her career, she's kind of untouchable, right? Or at least the amount of damage that's going to happen to her career, it's so low at this point,
right?
That like, what's going to happen,
right?
And she put it out in a public manner that's like, well, if something's not happening for her, then she could always say, hey, look, this is the pivotal moment. So she's definitely at a point where she is protected. And oftentimes, those are the people who you need them to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to be most vulnerable, and I'm going to say that I'm going
to start it off.
Very interesting. But she also mentioned that, not only she laid her privileges, she also said that she's not a resident, because I think she also recognizes if a resident were to go up there and speak on that, that's it. That's a wrap. I think that's a wrap.
Right.
But she did mention that one of the skills, one of the things that we should gain from this, not skills, but one of the hopes, one of the goals from this is to get to a point where we create like universal, anonymous outlets for people to go and say, hey, look, I'm having this issue. Can I get some help? Can I go through this process without the judgment, without the peril to my career? And can I just get help really unconditionally?
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of people who need help. I was looking at this and it's saying like 300 to 400 doctors die by suicide annually. And when you look at that number in perspective, literally that's a medical school class.
Of course.
A medical
in some
school
places,
class
that's
dies.
like that might be 2 medical school classes. I mean, it's absolutely saddening.
Morehouse with their small class, that's like 3.
Yeah, that's like 3. Yeah, 3, almost 4. What, they're up to like 100, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's completely saddening, right? That this is going on, and that that we even have to talk about whether or not her career would take a hit before, she could even get help for herself, right? Like the fact that we're talking about, well, what would happen to her career? It's like, dude, her health is on the line. But this is such a conversation in medicine. It's an unfortunate conversation in medicine that exists. But
I'm not going to go through the percentages, but there's a lot of people.
It is what it
Guys,
is.
There's a lot of people. More than likely there's someone in your class who is having issues with depression, who possibly may be contemplating suicide. One of the things that she mentioned is, to choose courage over comfort, right? If you recognize that someone is going through something, do something about it. Be there for that person. What I also got from this is it kind of spurred me to just look into, some other resources that are out there. One of the things that is very palpable, I think, to at least doctors, people who are out there fully practicing on their own, is whenever they apply for a license, whenever they apply for hospital privileges, there's a question, or there's a couple of questions in there that are pretty intrusive. They kind of ask, have you had any mental health issues? Have you been treated for, depression or substance abuse? And there's always that hesitation, I think, that doctors will have to say, okay, like if I check yes,
what will happen?
What will happen to me, right? She also mentioned that there are plenty of doctors who go out of state to get help because they just don't want that stuff kind of appearing in their state's rolls,
right? Or
in a state pharmacy,
or they pay cash.
They pay cash, which can be very expensive. Residents don't have that option, right? Residents or even medical students don't have that option to kind of leave the state or pay cash or kind of do things under the table where they can get help, and that is a problem, right? So, with that being said, there has been some changes, right? There has been a number of states that have changed the way in which they ask those questions, right? They try to make it less, I gotcha,
right?
On the questions, and try to make it a little bit more like inclusive, and just say, hey, we kind of just want to know this information, or have people start thinking, do we need to know this information, right? So that's definitely changed. My question to you is knowing how the culture is, knowing that, I mean, this is something this is how it has been for 100 years. The question is it better to have like a big bang effect where like nothing happens for a while and then all of a sudden you have a big change? Or is it better to have like incremental change along the way? I think it's better. I think at this point, the way how life is, I think it's always better just to have incremental change. As long as we're moving forward, we can go from there. Because to wait such a long period of time, people are suffering in between.
Yeah.
And to wait for maybe like one person to out themselves or maybe a couple of people to out themselves when it's really not going to happen, right? You got to wait till they get to a point where it's favorable in their career, where you can't touch them and so forth. That's a problem, right? Meanwhile, people are struggling. So I always say incremental change is better than no change at all.
I mean, I get that. My problem with incremental change, and not to say that one is better than the other, right? Because they both have kind of their pitfalls, right? The incremental change and the big bang. My problem with incremental change, though, is that sometimes it is so slow and sometimes the change is so incremental that people think that it's okay to say, well, but at least we're making progress.
Well, yeah, you see that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that. Oh, but we're making progress.
Yeah.
And it's like, the progress you think you're making, you're actually not making. You're actually just changing things, but the problem isn't actually being solved.
Yeah, it's like either ripping a Band-Aid off or...
Right. Or just, just kind of taking it off, putting it back on, taking it off, like... So that's kind of my problem with incremental change. But Big Bang also means that you've got to get so many people on the same page at the same time, at the same place, and that takes so much time to do. That takes so much time to do, to just be like, all right, we're going to change the entire system. Mm-hmm. And it's like, this is a whole healthcare system. Like,
you ever been stressed to the point where you're like, man, like I either need to see somebody or like, yo, like this is like affecting my work?
Oh yeah, I've definitely been stressed to that point. Definitely in residency. Dating you, let me tell you, y'all don't know. Yeah, some of y'all know. Some of y'all out there know. You know who you is.
Okay, I see how it is.
But no, I mean, I've definitely been stressed.
Alfred, please cue up why you got to bring up old shit for?
Why you bringing up old shit?
From Friday. Thank you.
Anyway. So, no, but I definitely was stressed enough in residency that, yes, it did impact my work at one point. And I never got to the point where I felt like I needed to see someone. But I definitely recognized, or maybe I did need to see someone and I just didn't recognize that. But I definitely realized that, it was affecting my work.
Yeah, I think with me, definitely it was affecting me. To the point where, I had to start like taking walks and so forth because, what I do, it's so life or death. And not only is it life or death, then you also have to deal with the Monday morning quarterbacking.
Yeah.
I would have done this, I would have done this, I would have done that differently. And you're just like, guys, like you weren't there in that situation. It's almost like you remember that? Did you see that movie Sully?
Yeah.
Right? Like, the plane.
I love that movie.
The plane was, obviously, this is the movie where the plane lands in the Hudson River, right? Mm-hmm. And, there's all of these different Monday morning quarterbacks when it's time for the investigation, right? Everybody's saying, well, I would have landed the plane here. I would have gone here. And they did all of these simulations of, the plane losing its power. And then it either can land in Newark Airport or land at JFK or land at whatever other airport. And all the pilots are able to do it. Then Sully in the movie says, wait, hold on a second. You guys are already doing this role as if you already know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Right?
When he got on the plane, he didn't know.
He didn't know what was going to happen. So imagine what it's like to have the engines go out, for there to be a pause like, oh shit, there's no power for the engines, and then to start to look up the booklets as to what to do. So there's like a big, like, I forgot how long of a second there was. There was like multiple seconds that not only did he have to identify, well, first of all, have an oh shit moment,
right?
Then identify the problem,
take his own pulse,
and then when they made all of those pilots take those seconds, then do action, they all crash.
Without knowing what the outcome was going to be.
No, they wouldn't. Well, what their point was try to land a plane after taking a pause, right? And when they didn't take a pause, they were able to land a plane without power at an airport because they immediately were able to shift, right? But no, pause, and then try to land a plane, and they all couldn't do it.
Yeah, nobody could do it in a simulation, and he did it in real life.
And that changes
all those people's
the
lives.
situation. So I think that just the culture, at least and definitely in surgery, there are a lot of times, whether it's morbidity and mortality conference or signing out, it's very punitive. Yeah. It's very personal in certain regards. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with that.
Yes.
That needs to change. But that's going to be more of an incremental change, right? Like that's not going to be a drastic
that's not going to be a drastic change, right?
But absolutely affects you and stuff.
Absolutely. And the part of the reason that it's going to be incremental, and where I say incremental is so frustrating, is because, in order for that to change, people's personalities have to change. You have to get the right people with the right personalities to be very consistent in the way that they approach things. And that's what's really frustrating about it, right? And we see that in so many other dynamics in society. We see it in racism, right? We see it in sexism. We see it in all kinds of other bigotry. It's like, we're not going to kumbaya our way, to no racism and peace in the world. Like that's not going to happen. So that's what's really frustrating about it for me. I don't know.
I'll just leave it at this. Like, listen, guys, if anybody's listening to this show and you're struggling, and you're having a hard time, I always say, and we say it together, listen, your life is not worth it.
Nope.
Okay? Your life is worth it. The attempt to become a doctor or going through this process, it is not worth your life. Excuse me. Let me make sure I clarify that. Right? That is not worth your life. Like you bring so much value to so many people, whether it's your family, to the world, what have you. And if you're struggling with it, it is okay to pause. It is okay to step away. It is not worth your life. And I think one of the hardest things that we deal with, I think in medicine, is our personalities, type A personalities. Oftentimes how we perform on the job is a reflection on us, the accomplishments, and then you throw on top of that the accomplishments that we don't get, the adulation that we don't get, the validation that we don't get, the issues that we see, that ends up becoming a self-reflective issue on us. And I think that that's a major issue. So for those who are listening right now, listen, the pursuance of this is not worth your life. Seek help if you need it. The number will be below. It is 988. Go ahead and call 988 if you are struggling, if you're contemplating, if you're thinking about that. You can also text them also. We'll put some other resources specifically for physicians as well as other health professionals in the show notes. Yeah. And I think we're going to just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Right? I applaud Dr. Cunningham for taking that approach, for doing that. Like I said, this is a speech that happened several months ago, but the Guardian article just came out a couple of weeks ago, or actually a week ago, and then it kind of renewed interest in that video.
Yeah, I'm glad she did it.
Kudos for her for doing that.
I'm glad she did it for herself and for other people who can look to her as an example.
Oh, yeah. We need more of that. And hey, guys, this is part of the reason why we have Docs Outside the Box, is to let people know that there's just multiple ways that you can skin a cat. This is lifestyle. This is about enjoying your life as well as taking care of patients and doing, what you really want to do from a career standpoint, but also making sure that you can keep yourself in the focus.
That's right.
And this is a safe space for y'all. All right. So listen, we're going to catch you guys on the next episode of Docs Outside the Box.
Peace.
Talk to you soon. Peace.